Hello and welcome to Camp Xbox. Today let's take a trip back to Summer of Arcade. This was a promotion every summer for Xbox Live Arcade where they would drop huge titles, and if you bought them all, you'd get a discount. We have already covered 2008 and 2009, so today let's take a look at 2010 with some huge titles releasing. I usually tell you the price of every game, but this year every game was 1,200 Microsoft points or $15. If you bought all 5 games this year, you would get $15 back, and if you purchased a select few, you would get smaller discounts back. If you haven't seen the previous videos, check those out after this one. All footage was captured off of an Xbox 360, and I want to give a huge shout out to my YouTube channel members. Thank you for your support, but let's go ahead and hop into the first game. On July 21st, the first game of this promotion was Limbo, developed by Playdead and published by Microsoft Game Studios. This game is still widely available to play on many different consoles and is backwards compatible with modern Xbox consoles. Limbo is one of those games that has taken on a larger-than-life status in the gaming industry. Also, it's one of the most notable minimalist indie games that was a massive hit around the turn of the 2010s. And it's funny, I didn't remember that this game started this summer of Xbox Live. Limbo is a 2D platformer in which you play as a child wandering through an area with traps and monsters. There is little story here, with more of an emphasis on making the story for yourself and exploring the gameplay and puzzles. The minimalist approach might turn off some, but it works in hand with the game's art design and gameplay to make something cohesive, and even though it's short, it's a fun experience. The minimalism not only exists in the story, but seeps down into the game's art design with a stark, shadowy look. Many elements are black, which gives this game a creepy vibe. Spiders pop out of nowhere looking ominous, and it feels almost like a recreation of childhood nightmares. This goes in hand with some extremely gruesome deaths that pop up, with it feeling brutal since you're playing as a kid, and sometimes I think it goes a bit too far, but it does fit the game's nightmare design. The game mainly consists of environmental puzzles over just fighting enemies head on, such as when you fight a spider early on in the game. The only way to move ahead is through its legs, but it will stab you if you get too close, so you must use a nearby bear trap to snap its legs off. None of this is told to you, and you have to solve these puzzles on your own, giving this game a lot of aha and nice moments of discovery. The game design overall is well done, and the movement feels great. It takes the simplicity of the side-scroller and makes it even more simplistic in design, but it also adds a thoughtful touch with the number of puzzles used in the environment. This game was highly influential and was a turning point at the time, and it's one reason why this Summer of Arcade is so important. Every year that we talk about this, we have one game that is still talked about to this day, and this is one of them. It was an essential part of the indie game boom and still feels fresh. Microsoft is presenting such a small game to the world, and it gained such a large audience. This is something I still believe they do through Game Pass today. This one was great for its time and had a fun, simple style. It's worth trying today and is a short experience that can be beaten in an afternoon. Pick this one up and you will have an interesting experience. Next up is Hydro Thunder Hurricane, which came out the following week on July 28th. This one is also backwards compatible on modern Xbox consoles. This is the sequel to the 1999 Midway arcade game Hydro Thunder, a staple in restaurant arcade rooms everywhere. Funny enough, this game started as a speedboat racing game from the developer Vector Unit, who had team members who worked on the Xbox exclusive Bloodwake. The publisher, Microsoft Game Studios, bought the rights to Hydro Thunder and moved this game into the Hydro Thunder direction, creating a return of the franchise. Hurricane is similar in vein to the original game, but is a little more fleshed out. You race in speedboats in exotic locations. You also have a turbo to launch yourself through courses and speed around tight turns. The game's course design is excellent, emphasizing taking shortcuts to beat the competition. I love how the water interacts with the mini levels, and sometimes it gets wacky, such as when you get into the Viking-inspired level where a Viking ship is barreling into you on the course. It's always a treat to see what wild place you will race in next, and all the stuff you unlock from racing. Hydro Thunder Hurricane offers so much variety in gameplay. Of course, there's a standard race mode, but there's also championships and a ring mode where you have to beat a time trial while hitting every ring in the water. It's all entertaining, and with the added benefit of unlocking more modes and boats from doing better and better in all of these races, there's always an incentive to keep on going. Not only that, but this game has a ton of avatar rewards and gamer picks for you to score while you play. The progression is addicting given all the points you earn to unlock more things. I also love the variety of boats this game has with many unique looks and different performances. It would have been easy to slap the same ship repeatedly into the game, but each boat has different handling and feeling, which is excellent. There was a ton of love and care poured into this game, and I appreciate that there was a love here for this franchise, and it shows through, especially when you consider this game was received very well upon release. It's a great playing Racer 2 with tight controls. I always enjoy a good watercraft game, and this one is one of the best experiences on the 360. It's easy to get a handle on and is nice and arcadey. It matches perfectly with its arcade roots, and it's an excellent choice for an arcade game. It's easy to pick up and play in short bursts. It works as a game you can play when you don't have much time and you need something to fill the void. It looks solid and is all around a fun racing game. The third game of this promotion was Castlevania Harmony of Despair, which released on August 4th. It was published and developed by Konami, and it's also backwards compatible. A Castlevania game was a massive deal for Summer of Arcade. It's a classic series, and the fact that it was getting a new arcade release was an exciting prospect. They could have easily made a remake of one of the classic games as a release for this, but instead, we got something very different. Harmony of Despair is a 2D Castlevania, but it heavily emphasizes multiplayer. You can choose from various Castlevania character mainstays such as Alucard and Soma Cruz. Each character has their own weapon, and it changes how they attack enemies. When I started this game for the first time years ago, I remember being taken aback a little bit by the format of the game. You start out with a zoomed back camera and a giant field of view. You can see every room on the map, and the boss will be mixed somewhere in there, and your goal is to navigate this maze and defeat the boss. Luckily, you don't have to play it zoomed out. You can zoom in to see some great looking sprite graphics. The look of it feels like classic Castlevania, and I love the gothic designs. The zoomed out focus mainly supports multiple people traversing the map cooperatively or against you. You can zoom out to see their progress or use it as a guide if you're going at it alone. Playing this alone has a different spark than the multiplayer does. It's fun and I enjoy it, but it's just not as good as other single-player Castlevania experiences. I think that's because it has a limited scope, with not many maps to sustain a long playthrough. Playing with someone, though, will make the experience of mapping out a giant map together a charming and memorable experience. The action and platforming gameplay are solid and smooth though. The jumping and combat with every character feels different enough to keep you playing and see how everyone plays differently. RPG elements and leveling are all here, and it does have a good sense of progression. It's all about collecting loot and leveling up stats through equipment on your character. There's a lot of customization, which I find commendable. The game does have a limited amount of maps, but it does give you a reason to really explore them. It's a solid Castlevania that takes liberties with its format. It is a fun playing action platformer with many of the series tropes that fans love. I do think the concept is odd and only works well in multiplayer, but I like that they tried something different and pulled it off decently. I don't think this ranks anywhere near the top of Castlevania experiences, but this one was free with gold at one point and is backwards compatible, so it's one of the easier Xbox Live Arcade games to play online nowadays, and in that case, I say give it a shot, and you might have some fun with this odd experience. On August 11th, we got our fourth game of this promotion with Monday Night Combat. This was developed by Uber Entertainment and published by Microsoft Game Studios. It's a third-person shooter hybrid of class-based shooters, MOBAs, and tower defense games, creating an amalgamation of game types to make something fun and unique. It's nice that it is backwards compatible and playable easily today. I want to preface this portion of the video by saying I never played this in its heyday, and my first time playing it was for this video. So I never got to play it online, and my impressions are purely based on what it's like playing alone now. So if you have good memories with this one online, when it was new, please let me know in the comments. I am, however, disappointed I never got around to this one because I really enjoyed my time. It's a fun mix of genres and was a part of some of the most popular game genres that were popping up in the early 2010s. So there were two different game modes, and unfortunately one is entirely blocked by Xbox Live, but it does sound fun. This one has two teams defending their money ball on two sides of a court, and you have to try and destroy the other team's ball. It sounds strategic and fun, especially when you throw in the class-based shooter gameplay. You have classes like Tank, Assassin, and many more that you'll see in other games, but their different skill sets stand out here. The offline mode is Blitz, which resembles a horde mode. You still have a ball to protect, but now you are alone or with your team, destroying waves of different styles of robots. You can shoot them down and gain money. With this money, you can level yourself up, or place towers down to protect your money ball. It's a simple idea, and we have seen it before, but something about the sports show style and straightforward gameplay makes it addictive. Shooting feels great in this game, and there are many movement options. You can dash, and some characters can even hover around in the air. It does an excellent job of giving every character a movement option while ensuring everyone was unique and fun. I spent a lot of time playing through the harder and harder difficulties just to see what each class brought to the table. It was entertaining, and honestly, I find horde modes sometimes tiring, but this one was well pieced together and short. I felt like rounds were breezy, and I could see someone being entertained for hours with this one. It also looks great for an Xbox Live Arcade game, and this one is the type of game that Xbox Live parties were made for. I had a good time alone, but if you find a group, you definitely should, and I hope to play with the group eventually. This game is plain fun and is a simple shooter with some strategy, and it would be a blast to play with others. So far, there has been a nice variety of genres with this summer of arcade, and this one stands out for being completely different than the rest. The final game is Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light, which was released on August 18th, 2010. It was published by Square Enix and developed by Crystal Dynamics. Like every other game listed today, it is backwards compatible. This game is set in the Tomb Raider series, but does something different than the usual action of the series. Here you play in a top-down environment and go around tombs killing monsters and solving platforming puzzles. This game can be played in both single player and co-op, and it's a blast both ways. I've played this game before, and I remember enjoying it. And going back to it now, I still think it holds up as a fun Xbox Live Arcade experience. You can either play as Lara or Totek in this game and stop an evil ancient god. It's told in a comic book style that works for this game. It feels like an offshoot of the Tomb Raider series, and it embraces that. It's a whole new style, and the gameplay is fun and handled well. The isometric view makes for some excellent puzzles, especially the physics-based ones that require moving objects around. The combat is simple and well done, and Lara keeps her dual pistols while gaining giant spears. I love these things because they open up a new way to play, and you can use them in different ways to traverse platforms and go up walls while completing challenges. And the challenges are a great way to beef up the content in this game, and they're addicting to go through. You get completion points for tasks like beating a boss without getting hit or going over a river without touching the water. It's a way to explore the game mechanics and add replay value to the experience. It all looks great for an arcade title with well-detailed tombs and temples. It's only set in one place in the world, so it doesn't have a solid globe-trotting appeal that the other games do, but it does take the idea and run with it, and all of the different levels have something nice about them. The gameplay strongly favors you playing it in co-op, and it does add more fun elements to the game, like Totek using his shield to carry Lara. I always love a good co-op game that really uses different abilities to get ahead in levels. Working together is when the best laughs and good times come into play. And of course, alone, I think it's just as fun and well worth giving a playthrough. It is not your traditional Tomb Raider, but it takes many of the series staples and fleshes it out at a smaller scale. This one is a fun game. Summer of Arcade 2010 was a stellar year for the program, and I wouldn't call one of these games bad or mediocre. All of them have solid qualities and are interesting experiences. It's nice to see so much variety in these games, and if you got them all, you were in for a treat. Limbo is an artistically creative platformer that has stood the test of time. Hydro Thunder Hurricane was the return of a classic racing series, and it replicates it well and adds even more. Castlevania Harmony of Despair is an odd but interesting game that works well with friends. Monday Night Combat was a surprise hit for me with a unique take on a slew of genres and was addicting, and Lara Croft was a great adventure co-op game with lots of fun puzzles. This was an excellent year of arcade titles, and luckily all of them are available on modern Xbox consoles, and you should check them out if you own them. But that does wrap it up for today. If you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like as it helps out the channel. Subscribe to keep up with the retro Xbox content. Be sure to let me know in the comments below what games here you enjoyed, which ones you hated. Everyone's opinion is important and I'd love to hear from you. And I want to give a huge shout out to my YouTube channel members. Thank you so much for your support. You really help out the channel. And I'll see you here next time at Camp Xbox.